Hi, everyone. Welcome to this evening's town hall. We're so happy to have you. On behalf of Dean Inku Galai from Campus Life and Michael Elliott from Emory College, we welcome you to the first year student town hall. We hope you and your loved ones are well and safe. Thank you for taking time to be with us wherever you are in the world, over dinner, over an afternoon snack, or perhaps your morning coffee for our friends in Asia. My name is Lisa Kutsia, and I oversee the communications work for the Office of Admission. I'll be moderating our time together, so thank you again for being here. After Friday's announcement, you are likely experiencing a wide range of emotions about the fall semester. We also realize there are choices and plans each student and family needs to make. We've gathered senior leadership from across the Atlanta campus to share about their plans and to answer as many of your questions as we can. This town hall will focus on the fall semester and the fall student experience. And please understand that while we wish we could look into our crystal ball for spring, we do not have those plans ready at this time. We know this fall semester, your first semester of college, will look different than what you imagined. But know that the values and commitment from Emory University have not changed. Our panelists will speak to Emory's culture of care and our commitment to outstanding education and student support, whether you as a student are choosing to live on campus or to study remotely this fall. Because we have much to cover, we will get started shortly and cover the following topics in this order: student health services, dining, housing and residence life, financial aid, orientation, and academics. If we stay on track, which is what I'm here to help us do, that should take us about an hour. And if time allows, we'll answer more live questions. As you can see, the Q&A section is already open and hopping. We have many staff behind the scenes in this call as well, and they will be answering those questions throughout our time together. We are going to cover a lot of information, so I invite you to pay attention and take notes if you find that helpful. And also know that this session is being recorded. We'll make the recording available tomorrow and share that link if you would like it. We'll also continue to update the FAQ sections on all of our websites through the coming days and weeks as more decisions are made and information is available. All right, I think that covers all the housekeeping bits. So we're gonna dive right in. I would like to invite our first panelist, Dr. Sharon Rabinovitz, to share with us. Sharon oversees all of student health services, which includes the Student Health Center, immunizations, and insurance. They're also involved in establishing the COVID-19 protocols for campus this semester and monitoring students who test positive and are at the Emory Conference Center during their period of quarantine. Dr. Rabinovitz, can you share a bit about what Student Health Services has planned for the fall?
Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa, and welcome to everyone. I am so looking forward to seeing you, welcoming everyone from different countries, from different states. Again, I'm Sharon Rabinovitz. I'm the Executive Director. As you all know, health and safety is our top priority, and it's the focus of many of your questions. So we have many things planned to make sure that you're taken care of. As we know, there are going to be many mitigation strategies put in place, including initial health screenings, screening upon arrival, including testing, which I'll get to in a moment. We have hand sanitizer and cleaning supplies, in addition to health monitoring options and lots of education. We have a lot of access to care, and not only COVID, but also we're well suited and ready for people who need the routine care, which is really important also that we don't forget that in the midst of COVID. But I know COVID care is really on your mind. As people arrive, we'll be testing them, and we will be also testing them as we go through the semester, especially those who are symptomatic or are in contact with anybody who's symptomatic. Those have been our priorities. We will also make sure that when people arise, if they are tested positive, we have put in place isolation and quarantine. As Lisa mentioned, that is key to our success and also very comforting for those who are going to be arriving on campus, to make sure that those spaces are well equipped to support you during this time. We also know for those people who are going to be off campus, that's very important as well, to make sure that they're going to be supported medically. We also have a lot of mental health support that is in place, our routine counseling and psychological services, our psychiatry, in addition to for those in isolation and quarantine, we will have isolation support coordinators who will act as case managers to support people through this. So as you can see, that's just a very brief highlight. I'm happy to answer specific questions as as I know there is a lot to talk about in this topic.
Thank you, Sharon. A couple of the pre-submitted questions that came in from students and families. Can you share about what will happen if somebody tests positive for COVID-19 on my floor in my residence hall? What would the procedures be for contact tracing and quarantine?
Absolutely. So our policies include obviously access to care, whether it's during the nighttime or during the daytime. We do have a COVID assessment provider that's available through our portal. So people will access the portal and get an actual call from a provider, and we'll walk you through the process, set you up for testing. If it is during the middle of the night, we have 24/7 coverage, so that will be directed to the appropriate person depending on the symptoms. Obviously, the higher the acuity symptoms, we have the hospital available, we have providers on backup call. So depending on the daytime, we have that covered as well. If somebody is identified as a positive case, they're put through this protocol, especially on campus. They will go to the Emory Conference Center. They will have all the services available needed to support you through that, including dining, support services for well-being, emotional support through the Office of Religious and Spiritual Life, counseling and psychological services, drop-in virtual support. If you need extra toothpaste, toothbrush, we have everything thought of, and we'll have a stock room available to support you through those 10, 14 days, depending on what is needed. For those people who are identified as positive, we have our in-house contact tracing program that is also triggered to make sure that we are contacting those who are your close contacts. And if it's more broadly needed, along with our public health partners, we will test larger groups to screen hotspots if needed. And we're available for testing on site, as well as an assessment care team that is also going to be on site for COVID care.
Wonderful, thank you. Another question that came in is follow-up testing planned at any point in the fall semester?
Not at this time. Our strategy, which has been informed by our public health partners at Rollins, has recommended that after the screening, we really concentrate on symptomatic testing, contact tracing, testing those who are close contacts, and then looking at hotspots. We're also in the process of doing some surveillance with wastewater, and if we find that there is viral particles in certain dorms, we will reach out with the assistance of our public health partners for more broad testing. But at this time, besides the initial screening, we do not have broad testing planned, again, because of the models and our public health partners and their advice.
Excellent, thank you. And then the last question I'll send to you now is a very real one, and I just want to be honest with the families and students who are watching. Is it possible that students living on campus could be sent home before the semester ends due to rising cases? And can you share about what criteria Emory might be looking at to make that decision?
I think this is all in our minds, and with all the things that we have planned and put in place, the procedures and the policies, there are things that are out of our control. The things that are in our control, especially in the student control, will be addressed through the campus compact to make sure that we're all abiding by the rules to keep ourselves safe. But if for reasons that are above our control, like the community numbers, the hospitalizations, and access to care changes, those are different indicators that are on our dashboard through our emergency partners and public health partners that would allow us to shift. And if it is deemed necessary and safety-wise, we need to pivot and decrease access on campus, we would do that again. But again, all the things that we are monitoring closely, to make sure that doesn't happen, things that are being put in place so we don't have to go to that extreme intervention like we did in the spring. But again, those are being monitored and inform the decisions that have been made over the past week and will continue to do so.
Excellent. Thank you, Dr. Rabinovitz.
Thank you.
I do have one quick housekeeping thing I want to share. If you're typing questions into the chat, if you could put those into the public Q&A and not send them just to the panelists, that'll allow our staff behind the scenes to answer them and push those answers out for everybody to see. All right, thank you, Dr. Rabinovitz. We are going to move on to dining now. So I would like to introduce Dave Furman, who oversees many things at Emory, but most important for this evening, he oversees all the plans and operations of the dining facilities and the meals on campus. Dave, you can turn your camera on and we would love to hear from you.
Excellent. Hello, everyone. I'm Dave Furman. I'm Senior Director of Dining here at Emory, and I'm delighted to be with you this evening. We know that you have a great deal of questions about campus dining. We know how important campus dining is to you, and we take that very seriously. Over the past several weeks, we have been in a planning process, and I thought I'd start off just by helping you to understand the key components or the guiding principles that we have been using and will continue to use in all of our campus dining decisions. The first principle is that health and safety will always be first. All of our decisions, all of the work that we do in campus dining is predicated first and foremost on ensuring that we do it in a safe and healthy way. Secondly is the importance of accessibility to food. We want to make sure that our students have accessibility to food morning, noon, and evening, because we also understand that your schedules are varied and you'll need and want access to food at different times of the day. Third is maintaining our quality standards. We're incredibly proud of the work that we do in Emory Dining in terms of our sustainability standards, our food standards, and the quality of what we serve. Although much of what we will do in campus dining will be different in the fall for obvious reasons, we are steadfast in ensuring that the quality of what we serve will not change and will not waver at all through the semester. And lastly, we're still determined to contribute as much as we're able to the community experience at Emory. Dining is a community experience. It'll be a little more difficult this fall because of the constraints that we have, but we're still determined to do as much as we can in contributing to community. So with that said, Lisa, if you want to send me some questions.
Sure. How will dining work while still following the social distancing or physical distancing rules on campus?
Absolutely. So many have asked about what will be different in campus dining. I think that's probably the number one question that we've been asked. And so what I can tell you is that so much will be different, yet some fundamental aspects of dining won't be. What will be different is we will be practicing physical distancing in all that we do. We will ensure that there is 6 feet of distance between each student in line in our dining facilities. Students will be required to sanitize their hands before entering any dining facility. Face coverings will be required when not eating. All of our dining facilities will be takeout this fall. The reason for that is we need to remove most, if not all, of the furniture from our dining facilities to make room for queuing that can actually be done in a socially distanced way. And so we will have takeout only. We'll have some new hours. At our main dining hall, the Dobbs Common Table will be actually closing between meal periods to allow us to perform deep sanitizing of the entire facility in between each and every meal period every single day. We won't have any self-serve stations. All the food will be either served by trained staff wearing appropriate PPE and very trained staff wearing PPE, or will be grab and go. And so there'll be no self-serve stations this fall either. So those are some of the things that we are doing that will be different. Variety will be a little bit different, but we will still have a great variety. I can tell you we'll still have halal, kosher, made without gluten options, lots of vegan and vegetarian options at every single dining facility on campus, as well as the DCT, the Dobbs Common Table, will remain peanut, tree nut, and shellfish free to eliminate any kind of concerns that may be out there with students with allergies.
All right, and last question for you. This would be on my mind if I were a parent or a student. Where am I supposed to eat if everything is takeout and there's no furniture in the dining halls?
Yeah, good question. We'll have lots of places for students to eat. The default will be the residence hall room, suite, or apartment. We'll also have a number of outdoor covered pavilions or tents on campus that will be outfitted with furniture for students to enjoy a meal. One of the wonderful things about being in Atlanta is we have great weather for much of the year, and so many students in any year choose to eat outside, and we have lots of outdoor seating as well.
Awesome, thank you. That is all the time we're going to spend on dining for now. We are going to move on to probably the hottest topic of the day, which was housing and residence life. If you already submitted your housing addendum, you may have seen that your housing assignment was made available this afternoon. So hopefully you've been able to check that out. I would like to introduce Elaine Turner as well as Scott Roush to come and talk about their areas of expertise.
Hi everybody, I'm Elaine Turner. I'm the Senior Director of Housing Operations. Let me just tell you a little bit about housing operations. This is the office that kind of oversees the administration of the residential facilities. There are various areas under housing, but the ones that would kind of align with what you would be doing or know about the housing administration, which pretty much oversees the housing application and assignment processes. And then we have facilities, which oversees the residential facilities, making sure we have safe, well-maintained, clean residence halls for you to live in, and also residential technology. That's the part that deals with your internet, your student access, using your card access to the residential buildings. But as Lisa mentioned, for this upcoming fall, I mean, campus housing has been approved for all first-year students who want to stay in housing. And as Lisa mentioned today, as we promised, the housing assignments went out to all first-year students. For the fall semester, all our first-year students are going to be on the Atlanta campus. Let me back up and say that. We have the Claremont campus and we have the Atlanta campus. And on Atlanta campus, we have the first-year and second-year residence halls, and all students will be at that campus. No one will be at the Claremont campus. For the fall, we are expecting most of our first-year students to reside with us on campus, and we're looking forward to having you all join us. So far, I will say about 15% of our students have opted out of campus housing, but for the most part, all of the first-year class will be residing with us. To the housing assignments, which I know is a big, I hope it was exciting for those of you who have already viewed your assignment. I'm glad we were able to get that out to you today. And assignments went out to those of you who completed the housing addendum, which is a housing addendum to the housing agreement that you signed when you applied for housing. So those who completed that, and that posted last Friday when the university announcement went out, we sent out the link for the housing addendum. And those who completed it would have received their housing assignment today. If you have not done that, don't fret. You have till tomorrow at 5 p.m. to complete that housing addendum. And by completing and signing that housing addendum, you're telling us that you're confirming your space to stay with us in the fall semester. So please go ahead and do that by 5 p.m. tomorrow. And if you happen to be in the category, let's say where you did it today, after assignments posted, let's say anytime after 3 o'clock today, you did the, you signed the housing addendum, your assignment will post tomorrow at 9 a.m. So just hold tight. It's gonna be live and posted for you tomorrow at 9 a.m. As mentioned in some of the communication that has gone out, because residence halls will operate this fall semester at reduced density, we have had to assign students 1 per bedroom. As a result of that, some students, when students applied for housing, you had the opportunity to tell us whether you wanted a single room, a double room, a triple room. You gave us some preferences as to what you would like. Because we're making this change and we are reassigning you 1 student per bedroom, I just want you to know that this is not going to change your housing bill. If what you requested when you applied for housing is what you're going to be billed. And so there will not be a change on your housing bill as a result of this reassignment. I just want to put that out there because I know that has been one of our frequently asked questions. And because students are assigned 1 student per bedroom, some people there may be double rooms, there may be triple rooms. I just want you to know that all the furniture in the unoccupied space, in whatever room you find yourself in, will stay in the bedroom. So please don't move those out, don't take them to storage, leave them all in the bedroom. It's an unoccupied space, you have the extra space to use, but all furniture has to remain in those spaces, please. If you completed your housing addendum prior to assignments posted today, I just want to say thank you. And I want to remind those of you who have not done it, please don't forget that deadline is tomorrow, 5 p.m. And would love to assign you to housing and look forward to seeing you in the fall semester. I'll turn it over to Lisa.
Thank you so much, Elaine. Scott, would you like to take a few minutes and share about what the Residence Life programming and experience will look like for students who are living on campus?
Absolutely. Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Roush. I'm the Senior Director for Residence Life on the Atlanta campus. And I am very, very excited to, we all are very excited to welcome you and your families for the fall semester. So I wanted to take my time to talk quickly about 3 things. So the first is the move-in experience. I know there's been a lot of questions about that in the Q&A. I want to try and address some of the issues, if not all. Our student mentor program. And so what are your students going to see in the buildings as it relates to our RAs and our SA program? And then the building environment, what we're going to try to do for your students and you when you arrive on campus. So the first I wanted to address was the move-in process. So you will sign up for a move-in time. That process will start with you showing up and taking a COVID test. Once you receive your negative result, then you'll proceed to the residence hall. We have arranged for movers to be there to help move in your things into the buildings. We will also have students there to welcome you and to check you into your space, which means to give you your ID card and your keys and get you situated into your residential space. A lot of questions about parents and guardian helpers. Yes, you can bring parent and guardian helpers, but we'd like you to be really conscious about the numbers. We're really only going to let 1 parent or family member in essentially at a time. We'll base that on the number of students that are in the space or a number of students that are on the floor and in the space at the time to make sure that we're keeping the proper social distancing and the proper guidelines for occupancy. As it relates to check-in as well, we will make sure that we are trying to reduce the number of touches so that we can try to keep you safe. And we have signage and different things set up in the residence halls to try and keep everyone safe during the move-in process. you can ship your belongings. You can do that today. And know that if you can get your belongings to the university by August 3rd, we can have in-room delivery. So we can have your packages and your boxes in your room when you arrive. If the boxes arrive after August 3rd, we'll have scheduled and mail pickups that will be located all around campus. And lots of questions about being able to go back into Atlanta and buy things and come back to campus. Yes, that will be allowed. We just want to make sure that you're following all the proper procedures and protocols as it relates to COVID-19, making sure you're wearing a face covering in those spaces and a face covering in the public spaces when you return back to campus. The last part I'll talk about as it relates to move in, there's a question about cars. Can students have cars? And we do have a first year restriction on students not being able to have cars, but there is an exemption form that you can fill out on the Parking and Transportation website, and we will review those. And what I've heard from Parking and Transportation is they anticipate that if a student needs an accommodation for a car, they feel like because of the social distance parking and the lower density that most of those will be granted. The second part of this conversation is around the student mentor piece. So we will have an RA and so a resident advisor who is a junior or a senior who will be on each floor, and we will have a sophomore advisor on each floor. Each one of those positions is responsible for trying to make sure that your student feels comfortable or that you feel comfortable, and that they will try to connect you to each other and build community within the buildings. And we also have a brand new position that we are creating, that has been created and will be on campus this year, called the Community Compact Proctor. So the Emory Community Compact is the set of sort of things that we all agree to be on campus during the coronavirus COVID-19 era. And these folks will be there to help, to assist, to remind you what the expectations are both inside and outside of the building spaces, to make sure that your students feel comfortable and that they also know exactly what they're supposed to be doing in terms of following those policies and those rules. The building environment, my last piece, is that we will do sort of 3 phases. We will have, we'll have virtual programming. We're setting up virtual programming right as we speak to try and engage with your students. We will also have in-person programs. They will exist inside the buildings at a limited number with severe restrictions to make sure that we're following all the guidelines and keeping you safe. And then we'll have hybrids, things that students can do that are in the rooms and students they could do if they choose to go in person. In our spaces, students will be able to move freely around their buildings as long as they are following the social distance guidelines, as well as wearing a face covering. Right now, we are restricting those visitations to happen in buildings. So there was a question about, can I visit people on a different floor? Yes, but you wouldn't be able to visit at this time someone in another building. And so our hope is in the fall is to create an amazing experience with the parameters that we've been given, and try to make this as amazing as it can be for you this year.
Awesome. Thank you both for that high level overview. I do have a few questions that came in. The first one is, if I've signed my housing addendum already and gotten my assignment, but decide later on that I don't want to live on campus, what is the deadline to cancel my housing?
The deadline to cancel your housing is August 1. So on or before the 1st of August, you can cancel your housing and you won't incur any charges for that.
Excellent. Thank you, Elaine. And perhaps this question would be for Scott, but are common spaces in the buildings like the kitchen or study rooms going to be available? And if so, how many students can be in any of those spaces at a given time?
So the short answer to that is yes. The longer answer is that it will vary depending on the space. So each of our halls aren't uniform. So study lounges and kitchens and common areas have different sizes. And so each of those areas has a sticker and a sign that says what the total occupancy can be at that moment. And so our RAs will make sure that students are following the guidelines, but those spaces will be open for students as long as they're following those procedures.
All right, and then some questions about move-in. Have any decisions been made about how many people can assist me when I move in, or what if I test positive and can't move all of my stuff in because I have to go to the conference center?
Yeah, I'll tackle the second one of that first because it's actually the easier of the two questions, easy two questions to answer. But so what will happen if you have a positive, and I don't know, Sharon, if you want to chime in here too. I don't want to steal your thunder around this process, but what will happen if you test positive is that you will be you'll be escorted from the testing site, whichever one that you are in, with students or from Sharon's folks from Sharon's group. We'll take you to the conference center. We'll check you in. We're asking you as you come with your stuff to have a to-go bag, so that has the stuff that you immediately need, so that you can have that in the conference center. But we will have a group of folks who will also be there to help attend to you and make sure that you get what you need. And then we will store your things until the time that you can transition back into the residence hall, and then you will have everything that you came with. This is the first part of that question. We are allowing helpers, but it's restricted. So we are going to try and keep it to one helper per student as we move into the space. Now, if you bring multiple helpers, you can switch off. But we would like to keep it kind of you and one helper at a time in the space, just to limit the number of people who are in the building and limit the number of people who are in your room.
And another question that came in, do the helpers have to be tested to be on campus during move-in?
They do not. We will ask them some screening questions, and they will have to wear proper face attire, face coverings, and make sure that they are following all the distance guidelines. And then I think Sharon I would be remiss from Dr. Rabinovitz if I didn't say this. If you're not feeling well, don't bring that particular helper. If you have someone who feels like maybe they're sick or they might be on the border, it might be a good idea for that particular helper to stay back.
All right, and we do have a few more minutes for housing, so I'm going to keep going down my list here. Do the dorm rooms have air conditioning? And I know we live in Atlanta, so I know the answer to this question, but let's cover it for all the people who have never been to the South before.
Yes, all the residential buildings are air conditioned.
Yes, I can't imagine being in Georgia in August without an air conditioner. So I think you have covered most of the most pressing housing questions. I do see some more coming in through the chat, so we can handle those one off. But I do want to thank you both. I think the housing move-in process has been the hottest thing that I've been talking about today with families. So I appreciate you guys both sharing with us tonight. How is everyone doing? I know we're covering a lot of ground. We are going to switch gears a little bit here and move over to the financial aid space. We have George Lunkin from the Office of Financial Aid who will share about some of the updates that you should have received an email about earlier today with the financial aid process and this fall, and what it means for students who have a financial aid package. So we are going to switch gears to that topic.
Hey guys, I'm George Lunkin, Senior Assistant Director in the Office of Financial Aid. I work with the Emory College undergraduate population, and glad to be here tonight. I'm so glad that housing was a hot topic for the evening, but I'm going to start off with housing. I put together some items and lists that that's happening right now in the financial aid office, especially since the university sent the email out on Friday. And the biggest thing that we are getting questions about is housing. If you're coming to campus, or if you're going to live off campus and pay rent, or if you're going to live at home with your parents, how does that affect your bill? And the quick answer to that question is that it won't. We're going to keep the housing and the cost of attendance. The housing portion of the budget will remain the same, regardless if you're on campus, at home, or if you're in Atlanta paying rent. A good thing is that the university is committed to keeping the cost of attendance the same for the 2021 school year as it was for the 1920 school year. Amid everything that's going on with coronavirus, COVID-19, and just we have a lot of families and just financial issues that's going around for everyone. So we're trying to make it as bearable as we can for all. Another question that we've received a lot of is about federal work study. Students are eager to come on campus and find a job. They want to work. They want to be involved on campus. Some work study positions may be in person, but some may be allowed to work remotely. So that's good for the families and students who are interested in attending the fall semester remotely.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, George. So a few questions that came in earlier today. My family's financial situation has changed. Is it too late to apply for financial aid for the fall?
It is never too late to apply for financial aid, especially given today's times. We have a lot of families who have not applied for financial aid during the admissions process and so forth. But, families have, lost jobs and other special circumstances have come up, and we encourage you to apply for financial aid so we can know what's going on and try to help you. And if you have applied for financial aid and something has changed since you've applied, please fill out a special circumstance form so we can take a second look at your information and help you as much as we can.
Awesome. You already mentioned federal work study, so thank you for covering some of my question already. I did want to touch on how can students find a work study job, whether they're choosing to do that job on campus or remotely. What are the vehicles to research the job options?
Actually, that's a great question. Beginning August 3rd, all students who were awarded federal work study will receive access to start searching federal work study jobs in Handshake. And Handshake is a system that we use on campus to post federal work study jobs. And students will be able to start looking for jobs that way. And also because of students who are going to be on campus taking the traditional semester or maybe the hybrid semester, we're also going to have an on-campus work study job fair as well the day before classes begin. So that's two ways that you can find jobs for federal work study.
Awesome. Another question that came in is, if I choose to take only online courses, will tuition depend on the amount of courses or hours I am taking?
Tuition, as an undergraduate student here at Emory, all students have to be full-time unless you are a graduating senior, but because you're just starting, you still have 3.5 years before you get to that point. If you're taking 12 hours, your tuition will be the same. If you're taking 21 hours, anywhere between 12 and higher, you're full-time and your tuition is the same.
Excellent. And the final question that we got is, do we know what fees online versus on-campus students will be paying? And if so, can you explain those?
That's a great question. Typically, your fees on campus are your academic fees, your activity fees, and mental health fees. When you're taking classes online, especially if you're doing a full semester online, fees are technology fees and your mental health fees. Because you're not on campus, you typically won't have those activity fees to use the Woodpeck Gym and so forth.
Awesome. Thanks, George. And I do know, just on the fees side as well, that they are reviewing the specific amounts of those fees for the upcoming year, given Friday's announcement, and they may be adjusting those, but we'll have more details hopefully in the next week about what the specific breakdown of costs will be for each of those. And so we'll make sure our websites are updated as soon as those decisions are approved. All right. Well, thank you, George. You are always so calming and reassuring, which is great for the financial aid space. So we appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having me.
This evening. Our last section, we are doing awesome on time. Our last section is going to be with Sherry Obrentz from the Office of Undergraduate Education. This office covers a lot of areas in the Emory College space, and that includes orientation, advising, and academic support for students. So Sherry, what can you share about what the on-campus and virtual experience will be for students this fall?
Yeah, great. Thanks, Lisa. Because I'm covering 3 different parts, I think I'll take them in chunks. And if you want to throw questions out in between, we'll break it up a little bit too. So excited to first talk about orientation, one of our most famous first-year traditions. And while it might look a little bit differently this year, we're really excited to be providing virtual real-time sessions and on-demand video content throughout the orientation program. We are doing all of this virtually because we want to have an equitable experience for all of our students, no matter where you are in the world. But you will have some opportunities to attend real-time sessions with other students. Some of the highlights will be that you get to meet with multiple orientation leaders who are upperclassmen who've actually been waiting months and months to welcome you to the Emory community. So they're really excited to share their own experiences and to help welcome you and start building communities in the first year class. The other great highlight, I know many of you are excited to meet faculty members. Besides your pre-registration advisors, those are staff who are helping you get ready for registration this summer. You will all be assigned a faculty advisor who will stick with you until you declare a major. Do not worry about what department they're in. They're all fabulous and wonderful. And during orientation, you'll have a live session with a panel of 5 or 6 different faculty from across the college who will let you know what it's like to be a student in college, why office hours are important, why you actually need to log in during your synchronous sessions and all that good stuff. And then you'll get to have a small meeting with your assigned pre-major faculty advisor as well. So lots of good things to look forward to during our orientation. Lots of questions just about some of the other traditions that we have. We know we're working on it. Obviously, we can't have 1,500 people in our woodpeck for certain events, but we really are trying to make this a special experience for all of you. So we have a few tricks up our sleeves and excited to roll that out in mid-August for you before classes begin.
All right, so a question that came in about orientation for students who are on campus, will there be anything happening in person or is it all purely online for the orientation?
The official orientation programming, so the things that we require to make sure that you are ready for classes and ready to understand our community standards, will all be virtual. There might be some opportunities, as Scott mentioned, in the residence halls for students to get together. It will not be that you will be locked up in your room by yourself. And so as long as people are being safe, wearing their masks, and following our physical distancing guidelines, you will be able to interact with other students, and especially in your first few days moving on campus.
Awesome. And the other question that came in about orientation, and I honestly don't know if you know the answer to this, so you can, but is Emory providing shuttles like they normally do to get people from the airport to campus ahead of move-in and the beginning of orientation?
That's a great question. And that's actually something we're working with our transportation department to figure out if there is a safe way to do that, because safety is our #1 concern. And we are not sure about what the guidelines are for how many people could be on a shuttle. So we're working on that answer, and we will make sure that we have that to you ahead of time. And if we can't provide that service, we'll give some good options for students so that they feel comfortable coming to campus safely.
Okay, those are the main orientation questions that we've gotten today. So feel free to move on to your next section.
All right, so I'm really excited also just to talk about the academic experience at Emory. And we know that's why so many of you chose to come to Emory to really interact and meet and learn from our amazing faculty. So first things first, I know it was a little surprising to hear that most of our classes will be online, but over 700 of our faculty members have been working really hard all summer to get trained to deliver their courses, what they're experts on, in a way that makes most sense. 2 of the courses that all first-year students will take, Health 100 and PACE 101, are also all online for all students. In PACE 101, you'll be limited to a class of 19. It's led by a staff facilitator. Many of the people actually who've chatted with you today are PACE facilitators, which is great. And they are going to be delivering content on a weekly basis, helping build communities, allowing you all to interact with each other, asking all the questions in the world on a weekly basis. They're amazingly trained people who care and can help you find the right answers. We'll be able to kind of have check-ins with you to see how you're doing and to make sure that you're getting up to speed. So that's great. In our Health 100 class, in addition to talking about COVID-19 and staying safe, really deals with your health and wellness and really leading healthy lifestyles, are co-led by peer health partners. And so that's another opportunity for you to connect with upperclassmen who've been at Emory and trained to have those conversations with you. So lots of opportunities to build community. There have been lots of questions about registration. We are registering you for 5 credits before you get to start registering for yourself. So you will get pre-registered in health and PACE, and then we will pick either a first-year seminar or first-year writing for you. We are working on getting students who are living on campus into a first-year seminar in person. They're not all in person, so that's not a 100% guarantee, but we're working on that. And we will work with the rest of everyone else trying to work around time zones. We know we're going to have students in literally every time zone around the world, so that people in Asia are not up at 4 in the morning for some of these classes, and California students don't have to get up at 5 a.m. So we'll do our best, and you can always work on your schedule during the add drop swap period. Registration is a process, not event. So on August 10th and 11th, you'll get to pick some classes up to 17 credits. And then from August 17th through the 26th, you can change your schedule as many times as you want. 90% of our students do that. So it'll be really, really great.
All right, so one of the biggest questions that we've gotten since Friday's announcement is, what if I'm living off campus but in the area and I want to take an on-campus class? Is that possible?
Yeah, well, we're prioritizing students who are living on campus first. And so we do have limited classes that are happening in person. There will be about half of our first year seminars and a few other classes that have been approved. And so that's the priority first. But if there are spaces or openings, you'll be able to check that out and enroll in them during the add drop swap period. So if that's something that you're considering, you can think about that too. Any student who's living off campus but coming onto campus will have to follow the social compact rules and will absolutely have to follow all the other physical distancing rules, testing rules, just to make sure that we're staying safe on the campus bubble too.
Awesome. And then a couple of more logistical questions. For students who are studying remotely, can I take classes at a local university for the first semester and then transfer all of those credits to start at Emory in the spring?
Yeah, great question. So unfortunately, the answer is no there. We will allow students to bring in AP, IB, or previous college credits. So if you took those through the summer, you can bring in a total of 18 credits, 12 of which can be from tests. But for this fall, no, you may not take any additional courses at another university. Really, because so many of our Emory courses are being offered online, we really want you to get the Emory experience. And you're still going to connect with our faculty, with our content, with all the things that make Emory great. So we want you to have that experience. I know some students have been asking about deferring. We do not have a spring deferral for first year students. So if you are considering deferral, that would defer you until next year.
Okay, another question we've gotten a lot this week is, when will the course atlas be finished? When we thought we might be finished in June, but when will it be finished for this round of decisions?
That's a really good question. You guys are asking fantastic questions. Thank you. The course atlas, the university update just went out on Friday, and so our departments are working really quickly to update that. They will be updated, we're hoping, by the end of this week. For now, all you all have to worry about is putting classes that you're interested in your shopping cart. So don't worry about the format for now. If you need to change that by the time you register August 10th, they absolutely will be up to date by August 10th when you register. The other thing not to worry about right now are the limits. So some classes might look closed, or all the first year seminars and writings look like they're zeroed out, and you might say, how could a first year class be empty or be full already? We purposefully zero them out so that sophomores, juniors, and seniors can't register. So they're all registering right now, and those spaces will open up by the time you all register August 10th and 11th.
All right, and then the last question that I'll ask about class delivery for now is, how will science labs be delivered virtually?
Yeah. Our science faculty, talk about being creative, and one of, I think, the joys of being at a liberal arts college is we have really creative, hardworking faculty. So they've been working all summer figuring out how to deliver that lab content virtually. I am not a scientist. I'm not a natural scientist myself, so I don't have the details of that, but I promise they have good things cooked up for you and will be shared in the syllabi. And so for people who are thinking about majoring in the sciences or need those labs for healthcare or graduate schools, it will all be okay. You do not have to worry about it. You can take those classes too.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what academic support services will look like for fall?
And there's been, we also got a lot of questions. I read through them too about whether or not, you'll be okay with an online format. Maybe you finished high school in that way and you're not sure. We're really dedicated to providing our academic support resources. Even if they're virtually, we have really robust services. So we have peer tutoring. We have, that's one-on-one tutoring in over 65 subjects. We have learning assistance, which is group kind of review sessions for some of our biggest courses. And we have my favorite academic coaches who are upperclassmen who can help with time management and study skills and just how to be a college student, because this is all new. All of those services will be available to you remotely. We have an amazing writing center that will also be available too. The other probably biggest thing I want to promote about academic support services are our faculty office hours. And I'll say this now, and you'll see me throughout orientation programming and PACE throughout the semester. You'll hear me say this a lot. Our faculty absolutely want to connect with you. And whether that's virtual office hours or if you're in person, they're working on safe ways to have small group meetings, depending on office spaces. You should really take advantage of that. And that's the best way to reach out, to get the help, to connect with faculty, all of the above.
Can you share a little bit about what the PACE course is and how that will work this year?
Yeah, so PACE and I are very, very good friends. The PACE class is a 13-week course that really helps to introduce you to the Emory community, to the policies in the college and in campus life, and the resources and the opportunities. So we intentionally introduce you to new things. We know you're not going to learn or remember everything after orientation. So we actually give you content when we think you need it most. We ask you to stop and think and reflect kind of about where you've been and where you hope to go. And then we help you along the way with the planning. So you'll hear a lot about making 4-year plans and making sure that you're connecting with those opportunities and resources throughout. Every PACE class has a staff facilitator. So we have 78 sections, 78 amazing facilitators who do this because they just want to connect with first-year students. And so they will be with you week in, week out. They'll have office hours as well. They'll check in with you. They're excited to meet you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sherry. I think that covers most of the high-level questions that we got. So we are doing great on time, and we do have time to take live questions. I see that there are a lot that have come in through the Q&A, so thank you for doing that. One of the most popular ones that came in after we talked about traditions is the tradition of Songfest. And so I did want to give Scott an opportunity to share about that. Songfest, as you guys know, is a really big tradition at Emory that normally happens in the Woodpeck. So we would love to hear what that might look like this fall or at a later date.
Excellent. So
I'm going to put you on the spot, but I know you have an answer.
no, I was ready. We will have Songfest. That's the statement that I'll start this question's answer with. What Songfest will look like and when Songfest will occur, we're not completely sure. We're starting to formulate the plan. We have a pretty good idea of what it's going to look like. We have to get all the pieces in place and make sure that we're following all of the guidelines that are keeping everybody safe. So it won't happen when it normally happens. It normally happens the Thursday of the first week of school, but we know that it won't happen on that date, but it will happen, and you will get your shirts, and you will be able to express your love for your first year hall. The big challenge with us is that there are more first year halls than there normally are because you're living in all of them, and so we have to do some reconstruction to make sure that we can accommodate all of those things. But we will do it. It'll be amazing, and we're so excited for you to be a part of it. So if you're really looking forward to Songfest, you are going to be part of the most innovative Songfest in the history of the institution. So can't wait.
Awesome. And then you might be able to answer this question, or Dr. Rabinovitz maybe can answer it too, but for students who are living on campus, are they allowed to go into Atlanta or Decatur? What kind of rules or restrictions or protocols are being asked of students living on campus around that? And I'm looking for Sharon. I don't know if she wants to come on.
I was always told to let the doctor answer the
Yeah,
help.
we'll see if we can.
But I'm happy to give a shot if she's.
No, I'm back.
She's back. There she is.
It is highly recommended that everyone stays on campus because, as we all know, if we start venturing around campus, we will bring the risk onto campus. We want to stay in our own bubble as much as possible. And so the recommendations and guidelines are to stay on campus, and we will be limiting off-campus activities.
Awesome, thank you. One question that came in that we wanted to make sure was really clear for people, and I believe this one will be for Elaine. If you could share a little bit about how housing was assigned for people who originally had requested to have a roommate, and what you guys have done to ensure that roommates can still be close together.
Okay, I know the housing team has been working tirelessly to get roommates who have mutual requests to be in close proximity with each other somewhere on the floor. So we are doing our best to try to accommodate all the roommate requests. And we're trying to keep them together close by on, on the same floor. But again, the request has got to be mutual. And I emphasize that because at times, Elaine could request to be with Lisa and Lisa does not request to be with Elaine, and we won't put you together. It's got to be mutual, and we're trying to accommodate all those requests as best as we can.
Excellent, thank you. I am getting word from my team that the parking form that we've been talking about submitting is giving an error. So we will look into that and make sure that that gets fixed in the next day so that those of you who would like to bring a car on campus can do so. So thank you for your patience. Do know that we are gonna have a form in place. So if it takes us another day to get that sorted out, we're still gonna have a process. It doesn't mean the decision's changed in that regard. So other questions that came in for Elaine. I think we covered this a little bit, but can you explain how to ship stuff to campus ahead of move-in? I believe Scott had covered this, but if you can just share what website maybe students can find more information about it.
They can go to the mail services website. If they just go to Google and enter Emory Mail Services, that will take them to the Emory Mail Services site, which has the process for shipping items on it currently.
Awesome, thank you. And I honestly don't know who has the answer to this question, but can anyone share about the Emory Student Center, the gym, or the libraries, and what will or won't be open for students who are living on campus?
I can answer the libraries.
Ooh, there we go. Hi, Sherry.
Hi, because on our Emory Forward websites, it says, please visit libraries.emory.edu. That's what I've been posting in the chat. I do believe that they're working out the reservation system. As for the gym and anybody else in Campus Life wants to correct, they're still working on those guidelines to figure out what safe physical distancing looks like. Is that correct?
Let's see, I see.
And the Student Center open definitely during many hours of the day. Great, so follow the signs, wash your hands, wear your mask.
Awesome. Let's see, how will I be able to get to the grocery store if I need to buy food? Does anyone want to speak to the shuttle situation?
I can. There is a shuttle that runs out of Woodruff Circle, which is where all of our shuttles start and stop, that runs to the Publix on North Decatur Road. I think I have the times. Give me 1 second, but I do know that it does run Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. and on Saturday and Sunday from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. So that shuttle will be running. Of course, it will be. They'll be following the distance guidelines and making sure that there's only a small amount of folks on each shuttle. But it will go in a continuous loop during that time. And so if you need to get to the grocery store, you will have the ability to do so.
Awesome, thank you. What are the policies for having visitors in the dorm room? I think we covered this a little bit, but maybe we can be explicitly clear on for people who are not currently living on campus, but want to come and visit somebody who's living in a residence hall.
Yeah, so I mean, I'll try to address both. I mean, and then again, if I say something wrong, please someone correct me. So as it relates to the residence halls, I'll start micro and get macro. The residence halls will be sort of independent units, and so students within those buildings can visit each other on different floors and different rooms. But we are asking students not to visit other students in other buildings, as Sharon mentioned. For the idea there is to try and keep those spaces sort of as bubbles, as bubbly as we can get with those spaces. And then if someone were to come onto campus to visit a student, what we would ask is that they would follow all of the guidelines that the campus has set. So wearing a face covering, social distancing, and that those students would have to be in an open space and would not be allowed into a residential space. I doubt into any building at all. So they could do things in the outdoor spaces, the tents that Dave mentioned earlier, some of the spaces that we set up on the quad, and places where folks can sit at a distance, but would not be allowed into, I assume, any indoor space or residence hall.
Excellent, thanks. Sherry Obrents, one of the questions that came in is, if I have a later pre-registration advising appointment, am I disadvantaged in getting the classes that I want?
Absolutely not. So all of our pre-registration advising appointments are started today actually and go through August 5th, and you will not register until August 10th. So absolutely no penalty. If anything, if you have a later appointment, it'll be closer to registration, so fresh in your head. I did get a note that I think over 1,000 of you have already signed up for your pre-registration advising appointment. So great job on following those directions. If you're one of the few hundred that haven't yet, you still have time to do so. So make sure you do that so that you can connect with an advisor.
And while I have you here, Sherry, another question that came in is about if you're on campus, what will the performing arts spaces, rehearsal rooms, studio spaces, how will those be operating?
That's a great question. They're still working on the details. I do believe that most of the performing arts spaces are moving to virtual formats. I heard from our friends in music, that they're getting really creative about how they're doing their ensembles and orchestra and choir. Obviously, singing has some risks in large groups. And so those will get updated as well. For any of you who are interested in the performing arts, I think you noted that in your student profiles that you filled out earlier this summer. So we're sending your names to all of our friends across the performing arts departments, and they'll reach out to you about some opportunities as well.
Awesome. Can anyone on the call speak to what undergraduate research opportunities might exist this fall for virtual or in-person students?
I can jump in on that one too. The university is still working out whether students can be in labs. So at this time, students can participate in research opportunities virtually if those are available. One of the things that we're asking our pre-major faculty advisors to talk about in our panels is how to get involved in research. It really starts in your first semester with getting to know your faculty members and learning what they're doing and what projects they're working on. So that'll be a great opportunity. We also have the undergraduate research programs office with student ambassadors and other people that you can connect with in the fall to figure out how to get started with research.
Awesome, thank you. I am scrolling through the Q&A that have been submitted, and I think we have answered the vast majority of these to the best of our ability so far. So I am going to just do a last call for any questions that anyone might want to jump in and cover from our panelists. If you have any last minute info that came to your mind that you'd like to share, please feel free. Let's see. Oh, I see Scott.
Yeah, I did see a couple of questions about religious. I don't know specifically about religious buildings, but I know that the Office of Spiritual and Religious Life and Residence Life are working that each building will have a campus chaplain, which students will be able to access and speak with. And so we'll post office hours in the contact space for those. And so if a student is interested in having conversation with someone or chaplain or arranging to understand what the religious connection could be, there'll be opportunities for those in each of the residence halls.
Excellent. Thanks, Scott. All right.
And Lisa, this
Yes.
is Elaine. I saw some questions around the bathrooms, the community bathrooms, and I just want to talk a little bit about that in the residence halls. Just like many of my colleagues here have mentioned, your health and safety is very important to us. And in the residential facilities, not just specifically the bathrooms, but all our common spaces in the residence hall, we will be enhancing cleaning and disinfecting schedules. And these schedules are going to be in keeping with the recommendations from our Emory Environmental Health and Services, and will be in accordance with the CDC guidelines. There will be a lot of signage, and as has been mentioned before, in terms of reminding you to keep physical distance, to wash your hands before you enter the bathrooms, for example. Right outside the bathroom, there will be a hand sanitizing station for you. There'll be lots of hand sanitizing stations throughout the residential buildings. There will be disinfectant stations that you can use to wipe down surfaces yourself. There will be refill stations for you to refill hand sanitizing solutions. There will be signs to encourage and remind you to wash your hands for 20 seconds and sing that happy birthday song. Lots of signs to keep on reminding you of how to practice safe hygiene while you're living in the residential facilities. Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything else along those lines, but we are planning for a safe and healthy fall 2020 semester for you in all our residential facilities and across campus.
Hey, Lisa, it's Dave Furman.
Yes.
I just wanted to point out to folks that meal plans will go live tomorrow. So students can actually choose their meal plans beginning tomorrow. They will, first year students will get an email from us tomorrow afternoon. And beginning tomorrow afternoon, students can choose their their meal plan, sorry. If students need more information, this will also be included on the email. They can go to dining.emory.edu and meal plan information will be there as well. There's no concerns about timing. Students have until August 1st to sign up for a meal plan. So there's no rush.
Awesome. Thank you, Dave, for talking us through the meal plan selection. Are there any other updates from any section that we would like to share before we close things out? Dr. Rabinovitz would like to share a parting thought, so we're going to let her have the floor, and then we will come back for closing thoughts from me.
Hello again. So I have a unique opportunity living this life of COVID as a parent to a rising sophomore in college and also as the executive director. So I see things from both angles, and everything that I do informs what I would do for my son and other parents. So I just want you to let you know that, and everybody on the executive team lives that way, what we would do for our own children and own family members. That's the creed that we live by. And specifically in my case, I'm living both sides. So the questions that you're asking are the questions that I ask myself, and the decisions that are going into what I do for my own son. So bring on the questions. We're open books and making sure that you have the answers you need to make the decisions and to have the comfort level as you send your child to our care. It is a responsibility and a labor of love that we all have. So I just want to give you some of those heartfelt thoughts as we close the probably 400 questions and more to come. So thank you for being with us today and sharing your concerns. It's so important to us that we answer the questions that you need and are keeping you up at night. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharon. And I think that Sharon's thoughts there really echo what all of us on this call, whether you saw us in person or you were getting answers behind the scenes from our staff, that heart is very true to Emory, and the culture of care that you're seeing here, we hope will translate to the student experience, whether your student does choose to study in person or remotely. We are committed to making it as best of an experience for their for your first semester, or for your students' first semester in college and at Emory. You've heard from a lot of different offices tonight. I would encourage you, if you feel like you didn't get quite the answer that you needed to help you make your decision, that you reach out to the correct office. You can also reach out through the Facebook groups, through email addresses. Just reply to any email that you've gotten from Emory in the last week, and it will get forwarded to the right office to get you a response as quickly as possible. We are going to close out this evening. I want to thank you again for joining us and for taking so much time to spend with us. This recording will be available tomorrow, and we will share that link with anyone who would like it. So feel free to email us or reach out through the Facebook groups tomorrow for that if you need it. Otherwise, on behalf of all the staff here and the leadership teams who we represent and the decisions that have been made, thank you for joining us, and we wish you all a pleasant evening or day, depending on where you are in the world.